The movie begins with a disturbing ritual as a man carefully draws a judgment scale on his hand, calmly crushing glass into tiny shards and placing them inside his shoes before walking forward without pain, hinting that he serves something far beyond human morality. Far away, we meet Stephen Grant, a painfully timid and socially awkward man who lives in constant fear of himself. Every night, he chains his ankle to his bed, scatters sand on the floor, and tapes his door shut, all to make sure he doesn't wander in his sleep. His life is ruled by exhaustion, anxiety, and routines meant to keep him awake, because Stephen is terrified of what happens when he loses control. Stephen's days are just as lonely as his nights. He works at a museum gift shop, where his deep love for ancient Egyptian history is ignored and belittled. Though he knows everything about mummification, gods, and tombs, he is constantly reminded that he is not important enough to be heard. His only comfort is a small goldfish he talks to like a friend, and phone calls to his mother, who seems to be the only person who truly matters to him. Already overwhelmed by lack of sleep, Stephen drifts through life, barely holding himself together. After another exhausting day, Stephen feels his body give up on him, and suddenly he wakes up in a completely different place, surrounded by mountains and armed men hunting him down. A strange voice echoes in his head, urgently telling him to run and warning him not to surrender his body. Confused and terrified, Stephen realizes he's holding a golden scarab, an ancient artifact clearly worth killing for. As gunfire erupts and chaos surrounds him, Stephen's body begins moving on its own, performing actions he cannot control, as if someone else has taken over. Stephen stumbles into a disturbing public gathering where people worship a man named Arthur Harrow, a calm and unsettling leader who claims to serve an Egyptian goddess of judgment. Harrow uses the scale on his hand to judge people not only for their past sins, but for crimes they have not yet committed. In front of everyone, an innocent old woman is sentenced to death, her soul ripped from her body without hesitation. When Harrow turns his attention to Stephen, the scale behaves strangely, refusing to judge him at all, immediately marking Stephen as something unnatural. Captured and cornered, Stephen loses consciousness, only to wake up surrounded by dead bodies, his hands covered in blood, with no memory of what happened. Every time danger appears, Stephen blacks out, and when he wakes up, his enemies are dead. He desperately tries to convince himself this is all a nightmare, but the cracks in his reality grow wider when he wakes up back in his apartment days later, discovering he has lost time, missed dates, and lived entire days he cannot remember. As Stephen's life collapses, he finds hidden phones, keys, and evidence that someone else has been living through him. Calls from a woman named Layla reveal a deeper mystery, and Stephen's reflection begins speaking back to him, introducing himself as Mark Spector. Mark is confident, aggressive, and knows exactly what's happening. He tells Stephen the truth. They share the same body, and Mark is trying to protect him from forces that want the scarab and the power behind it. Stephen's sanity is pushed to its breaking point when invisible creatures begin hunting him, creatures no one else can see. Terrified, he finally surrenders control to Mark, who unleashes brutal, divine violence to destroy the threat. When Stephen wakes up again, he finds proof on security footage that something monstrous was real and that he himself transformed into something inhuman. Instead of help, Stephen is fired from his job, labeled mentally unstable, and left alone to face the truth that he is losing his mind or becoming something else entirely. Desperate for answers, Stephen follows the trail left behind by Mark and discovers a hidden storage locker containing weapons, cash, fake identities, and the golden scarab. Mark finally explains that he is the avatar of Khonshu, an ancient Egyptian god of the moon who punishes evil after crimes are committed. Mark was chosen, resurrected, and bound to serve Khonshu forever. Stephen refuses to accept this madness and tries to run, but the god himself appears, towering and skeletal, demanding obedience. As Stephen runs from Khonshu in pure terror, Layla arrives and saves him, revealing the final shock. She is Mark's wife. Stephen struggles to process the truth as Layla explains Mark's disappearance, his secrets, and his dangerous past. The scarab, she reveals, leads to the tomb of a powerful imprisoned goddess, and Arthur Harrow wants it to unleash judgment upon the world. Stephen realizes that simply existing now puts everyone around him in danger. Stephen is captured again, this time by Harrow, who calmly reveals that he was once Khonshu's avatar before rejecting him. Harrow believes judgment should come before evil is committed, not after, and plans to awaken a far more ruthless god. Stephen refuses to cooperate, even when threatened with death, knowing that giving up the scarab would doom countless lives, including Layla's. When chaos erupts, Stephen is forced into battle, summoning Khonshu's suit for the first time. The transformation is violent, overwhelming, and terrifying, as Stephen struggles inside armor he doesn't understand. The fight is brutal in public, making him appear insane to everyone watching, while only he can see the monstrous enemy attacking him. Outmatched and confused, Stephen finally gives control back to Mark, allowing raw experience and fury to take over. Halfway through the story, Stephen is faced with an impossible truth. If you were forced to share your body with someone capable of killing to protect you, would you fight for control or surrender it? Tell me in the comments what you would do. As Mark takes over, the enemy is destroyed, but the scarab is lost, falling directly into Harrow's hands. With the mission failed, Stephen is trapped inside his own mind, watching helplessly as events spiral beyond control. Khonshu is captured and imprisoned by other Egyptian gods, stripping Mark of his powers and leaving Stephen truly alone for the first time. With no divine protection, Stephen and Layla travel to Egypt, racing against Pharaoh to stop the resurrection of the imprisoned goddess. Along the journey, Stephen's intelligence and deep knowledge of Egyptian mythology finally shine, proving he is more than just the weaker half of this shared body. Inside ancient tombs filled with traps, blood, and monsters, Stephen and Layla grow closer, relying on trust instead of violence. Stephen deciphers symbols, solves riddles, and navigates deadly labyrinths that Mark never could. But their bond is shattered when Layla learns the horrifying truth about her father's death, that Mark was present when he was murdered during a mercenary mission, even though Mark tried to stop it. The weight of guilt finally breaks Mark, and the truth of his mind is revealed. Stephen was never meant to exist. He was created by Mark as a shield, a gentler personality designed to survive unbearable trauma. As this truth surfaces, Mark is shot and dies, and both personalities awaken inside a surreal mental institution where reality itself begins to unravel. Inside this twisted afterlife, Stephen and Mark are forced to relive their past, walking through memories of abuse, loss, and betrayal. Stephen realizes his purpose was to protect Mark when no one else could. As the truth becomes clear, Stephen sacrifices himself, allowing Mark to survive, dissolving into the sands of the afterlife as his role is finally complete. Mark returns to the world of the living, broken but determined, freeing Khonshu and reclaiming his power. Layla refuses to be used as another avatar and demands to fight on her own terms. Together, they confront Pharaoh as he unleashes the imprisoned goddess, turning Cairo into a battlefield of gods and monsters. A colossal war erupts, with ancient deities clashing above the city while civilians flee below. Mark battles Pharaoh with everything he has, but the fight pushes him beyond his limits. As defeat looms, Stephen suddenly returns, restored and stronger, proving that both halves are necessary to survive. Switching seamlessly between Stephen's compassion and Mark's brutality, they overwhelm Pharaoh, finally stopping the goddess's judgment. In the aftermath, Mark makes a deal with Khonshu, demanding freedom in exchange for service completed. The god agrees, releasing them at last. Stephen wakes up in his apartment, living peacefully, believing everything is finally over. The chains are gone, the nightmares have stopped, and life feels normal again. But beneath the surface, something feels wrong, as if a final secret still remains hidden. In the shadows, it is revealed that a third personality exists, one neither Stephen nor Mark controls. This violent altar executes Pharaoh without mercy, proving that the cycle of blood and power is not truly over, and that some gods never fully let go of their chosen warriors. If you enjoyed this epic and mind-bending journey through gods, identities, and chaos, make sure to like the video, subscribe to Great Animation Recaps, turn on the notification bell so you never miss another powerful movie recap, share your thoughts in the comments, and keep watching for more dark, cinematic stories just like this.